5-year-old boy whispers, "Please, I need your help." To Denzel Washington in McDonald's, he turns pale and quickly calls 911. The smell of grease and fried potatoes hung heavy in the air, clinging to every surface of the crowded McDonald's. Families crowded around plastic tables with trays piled high with burgers and Happy Meals. Children's laughter mixed with the hiss of the fryers and the low thrum of pop music piped through the speakers. In the corner, Denzel Washington sat alone at a booth, his broad frame hunched over a tablet. He scrolled through the lines of a new script, his brow furrowed as he mouthed the words silently. A paper coffee cup rested on the table, long since gone cold. He had hoped for a quiet lunch before his meeting later that afternoon, a brief chance to step out of the whirlwind of work and fame. Before we get into the story, comment below where you are watching from today. If you like this story, don't forget to subscribe. But he wasn't really listening to the world around him. Not until he felt it, light fingers tugging at the sleeve of his jacket. He looked up, startled. The boy standing there couldn't have been more than 5 years old. His hair was matted, dirt streaked across his cheek like a fading bruise. His t-shirt, which might once have been white, was now a dingy gray, the collar stretched and torn. His sneakers were untied and worn thin at the soles. But it wasn't the boy's appearance that made Denzel freeze. It was his eyes, wide, glassy, and full of a terror too deep for someone so young to understand. "Hey there, buddy," Denzel said softly, forcing a reassuring smile. "Are you lost? Where's your mom or dad?" The boy's lips quivered as he leaned closer, gripping the edge of the table so tightly his knuckles turned white. His voice was barely a whisper, so faint Denzel had to lean in to hear. "Please, I need your help. My name is Liam. They told me my mom's dead." Denzel blinked, the words sinking into him like ice water. "What?" he said, his voice tightening. "What did you say?" The boy looked over his shoulder nervously, scanning the room with a fearful glance. His small hands trembled. They said she's gone, and they're gonna take me back."
Denzel's gut twisted.
He looked around the restaurant now with fresh eyes. Nothing seemed out of place. Parents wrangling kids, teenagers scrolling on their phones, an older man sipping his coffee. But there was something in the boy's voice, something raw and desperate, that told Denzel this wasn't a child playing games. He set the tablet aside and crouched down slightly so his face was level with the boy's. "Liam, listen to me. Are you hurt? Did someone bring you here?" The boy hesitated, then shook his head. "I ran," he said. "They'll find me." Denzel's heart hammered in his chest. He reached for his phone with a steady hand but felt the tremor in his fingers. He swiped open his browser and typed in, "Missing Child Alerts Los Angeles." The first headline made his blood run cold. Amber Alert. Liam Matthews, age 5, abducted from his home 2 weeks ago. Suspected foul play. Last seen with unknown adults. There was a picture attached. A boy with a wide smile, his front teeth missing, holding a stuffed dinosaur. Even under the grime and fear, Denzel could see it was the same child standing in front of him now. "Jesus Christ," Denzel muttered under his breath. He looked at Liam again. The same eyes. The same face. Denzel's stomach dropped as he realized this boy didn't just wander into McDonald's for fries. He escaped from something unimaginable. The phone nearly slipped from his sweaty palm as he dialed 911. 911, what's your emergency? "This is Denzel Washington," he said quickly, his voice taut. "I'm at the McDonald's on Sunset and Vine. There's a child here, Liam Matthews. He's the kid from the Amber Alert." "Yes, sir. Please remain calm." "Are you with the child now?" "I am, but I don't think we're safe. You need to send someone immediately. We have units in the area. Stay on the line." As Denzel spoke, Liam tugged at his arm again. His voice dropped to a terrified whimper. "They're here." Denzel froze. "Who's here?" he asked. "Them," Liam whispered. Over the boy's head, Denzel saw 2 figures standing just outside the glass doors of the McDonald's. A man and a woman, both dressed in dark clothes, scanning the restaurant with sharp, predatory eyes. The woman spotted Liam, Her lips curled into a tight smile. Panic surged through Denzel's chest. He looked down at Liam and saw the boy's tiny body trembling. "Stay with me," Denzel said, his voice low and steady even as his own pulse thundered. "Sir?" the dispatcher said through the phone. "Are you in immediate danger?" "Yes," Denzel said. "They're here. Send officers now." The man at the door didn't move right away. His eyes scanned the room slowly, like a predator surveying a herd, and when they landed on Liam, his face hardened. The woman next to him whispered something under her breath and started toward the counter, her heels clicking lightly on the tiled floor. Denzel's instincts screamed at him. "Liam, get down," he murmured, sliding the boy under the table. The dispatcher was still on the line. "Sir, stay calm. Officers are 2 minutes out. Can you describe the suspects?" "There's a man outside the door. 6 foot, maybe more, broad shoulders, black hoodie. And a woman. She's inside now, light brown hair, jeans, red leather jacket. She's looking for him." "Copy that. Stay on the line." The woman at the counter smiled at the cashier, but there was no warmth in it. She placed an order for a coffee, her eyes darting around the dining area. Denzel noticed her scanning each booth, her gaze narrowing as she passed over his corner. He leaned forward, trying to block Liam from sight. Liam's tiny fingers clutched Denzel's leg under the table. "That's her," the boy whispered so softly Denzel barely caught it. "Don't let her take me." Denzel swallowed hard. "Liam, listen to me. You're safe. I won't let them near you, but I need you to be very still and very quiet. Okay?" The boy nodded, his lips pressed tightly together. The woman's coffee was ready. She took the cup, turned, and started walking straight toward them. Denzel's hand tightened on his phone. "Sir?" the dispatcher said. "They're coming closer," Denzel replied through gritted teeth. "You need to hurry. They're almost there. Stay where you are if it's safe." But it wasn't safe. Not even close. Denzel glanced toward the back of the restaurant. There was a door leading to the kitchens, maybe even a back exit, but it was half a room away. He couldn't make a move without drawing attention. The woman stopped at the table across from him, pretending to stir her coffee. Her eyes flicked toward the booth, scanning under the table. "Excuse me," she said sweetly. "I couldn't help but notice. Is that your little boy?" Denzel forced himself to meet her gaze, his face neutral. "No," he said calmly. "He's not mine." Her smile didn't falter, but something dangerous flickered in her eyes. "That's strange," she said softly. "He looks like someone I know." "Lots of kids look alike at that age," Denzel replied evenly. The woman tilted her head, considering him for a moment. "Well," she said with mock cheer, "if you do see him, tell him his family's looking for him." She walked past the booth, but Denzel didn't relax. He could feel her eyes burning into his back as she moved toward the restrooms. The man outside had disappeared from view. That terrified Denzel more than if he'd stayed in place. "Sir, police are on site," the dispatcher said in his ear. Denzel exhaled a shaky breath. Thank God. The front doors swung open. 2 uniformed officers stepped in, scanning the restaurant. But before Denzel could call out, the woman's voice rang out from behind him. "There he is. Liam." Everything happened at once. Liam screamed. The woman lunged forward, knocking Denzel's coffee cup to the floor. The man in the hoodie burst through the kitchen doors from the back, his face twisted with rage. "Get the kid," the man barked. Denzel shoved the table aside, grabbing Liam and pulling him close. "Stay down," he shouted. The officers drew their weapons. "Hands in the air. Now." The woman froze mid-step, her hands shooting up. The man hesitated for half a second, then bolted for the exit. One of the officers chased him, shouting orders. The other kept his gun trained on the woman. Denzel cradled Liam against his chest, feeling the boy's tiny heart pounding wildly. "It's okay, buddy. It's okay. You're safe now." But even as he said it, he wasn't sure if he believed it. The woman's smile was gone now. She stared at Liam with a venom that made Denzel's blood run cold. "This isn't over," she hissed. The officer barked at her to get on the ground, snapping handcuffs around her wrists. Denzel didn't let go of Liam. The sirens outside wailed louder, but in the chaos of the restaurant, the sound seemed distant, almost unreal. Customers huddled against walls, some filming on their phones, others clutching their children. The woman in the red leather jacket knelt on the floor, her wrists locked tight in the officer's grip. Her calm mask was gone now. Her lips twisted in a sneer as she spat words like poison. "You don't know what you're getting into," she hissed at the officer. "You think you've saved him? This isn't over. He doesn't belong to you. He belongs to us." Denzel's jaw clenched. He tightened his grip on Liam, feeling the boy's small fingers digging into his jacket. The child's breathing was fast and shallow, his entire body trembling as if holding on to a threadbare sense of safety. One of the officers, a young man with sharp features and a steady voice, crouched beside them. "Mr. Washington, we've got this under control. Can you tell me what happened?" Denzel shook his head slightly. "I'll explain later. He's terrified. We need to get him out of here." "Understood. We're calling for an ambulance to check him over." "Are you hurt?" "I'm fine." "He's the one you need to focus on." The officer's radio crackled. "Unit 7, suspect is fleeing on foot. Repeat, suspect is fleeing on foot. Headed east down Sunset." The young officer's expression tightened. He gestured to his partner. "Get her to the car," he ordered, nodding to the woman on the floor. "Now." As the other officer hauled the woman up and marched her out, Denzel caught her eyes. They burned with something primal, something that made his stomach turn. "You can't save him," she murmured under her breath. Denzel didn't reply. He focused on Liam. "You're safe now," he whispered, trying to sound steady. "I promise you, they're not going to hurt you again." But even as he said the words, a movement in the corner of his eye caught his attention. The man in the hoodie. He hadn't fled far. He was back, crouching outside the window, eyes locked on Liam. Denzel's blood ran cold. "Officer," he said sharply. "He's here. He's outside." The officer's head whipped around. "Stay here. Lock that door behind me," he ordered, pulling his weapon and sprinting toward the exit. But Denzel's instincts screamed. The man wasn't going to stay outside. He was circling, looking for another way in. "Liam, listen to me," Denzel said urgently, crouching low so they were eye level. "We can't stay here. Do you understand? We need to move." Liam's eyes went wide with terror. "They'll take me back," he whispered. "No," Denzel said firmly. "Not if I can help it. I won't let that happen." He scanned the restaurant, the back door. "Come on." He grabbed Liam's hand and guided him toward the kitchen, weaving through the stunned employees. "Sir, you can't be back here," a manager started, but Denzel shot him a look that stopped him cold. "Call 911 again. Tell them the suspect is circling the building," Denzel barked. The man nodded dumbly and fumbled for the phone. Denzel found the back door and pressed against it lightly. Locked. His heart sank. He turned to one of the cooks. "Where's the key?" The cook pointed toward a hook by the office. Denzel snatched the key and unlocked the door as quietly as possible. He crouched down and looked at Liam. "Listen to me, okay? When I say run, you run as fast as you can. Don't look back. I'll be right behind you." Liam nodded, though his face was pale with fear. Denzel cracked the door open a fraction. The alley was empty, for now. He took a deep breath, then pushed the door open wider. "Go!" Liam bolted out into the alley, his small feet slapping against the concrete. Denzel followed, scanning left and right. The alley stretched long and narrow, lined with dumpsters and fire escapes. At the far end, sunlight spilled out onto the street. "Head for the light," Denzel urged. They were halfway down when a shadow detached itself from the wall. The man in the hoodie. "You think you're a hero?" the man growled. Denzel positioned himself between Liam and the man. "You take one more step, and you won't get up again," Denzel warned. The man smirked, "You're a dead man." Then he lunged. Denzel shoved Liam aside. "Run, Liam. Go." The boy took off, his small legs pumping furiously. The man swung a fist at Denzel, but Denzel ducked and slammed his shoulder into the man's gut, sending him stumbling back. But the man recovered quickly, grabbing Denzel by the collar and driving him back against a dumpster. "You should have stayed out of this," the man hissed. Denzel gritted his teeth and drove his knee up hard, catching the man in the ribs. The man let out a grunt of pain, loosening his grip. Denzel seized the opportunity and shoved him back. He heard Liam's voice from down the alley. "Help! Someone help us!" Tires screeched on the street ahead. "Police!" The man cursed under his breath. "This isn't over," he spat, then turned and sprinted the other way. Denzel didn't waste a second. He ran to Liam and scooped him up just as two officers rounded the corner, weapons drawn. "Drop him," one of them barked. Denzel raised his free hand. "I'm not the suspect. I'm the one who called this in. This is Liam Matthews." Recognition flashed in the officer's eyes. "Get him to safety," one said to his partner. "I'll pursue." The other officer nodded and gestured to Denzel. "This way. We'll take you to the squad car." Denzel cradled Liam against his chest as they moved quickly toward the waiting police cruiser. "You're safe," he murmured to the boy. "You're safe now." But in the back of his mind, he couldn't shake the woman's words. This isn't over. And deep down, Denzel knew she was right. The squad car door slammed shut behind them, sealing Denzel and Liam inside a small space that smelled faintly of leather and disinfectant. Liam sat rigid on the seat, his small hands balled into fists on his lap. His eyes darted around wildly, as if expecting the man in the hoodie to smash through the glass at any moment. Denzel rested a steadying hand on the boy's shoulder. "You're okay," he said softly. "They can't reach you now." But even as he spoke, Denzel felt a gnawing unease crawling through his gut. The woman's venomous hiss still echoed in his mind. This isn't over. Outside, the officer who had led them to the car kept scanning the alley and the rooftops, his hand hovering near the holster on his hip. His partner's voice crackled over the radio, shouting directions as he pursued the suspect on foot. Denzel leaned forward, lowering his voice. "Liam, I need you to listen very carefully. Those people, do they know where your home is?" The boy flinched. They found us before," Liam whispered. "After Mom." His voice broke. "They said I belonged to them now. That no one was coming for me." Denzel's stomach twisted. "They were wrong," he said firmly. "You're not theirs, and I'm going to make sure you get back to someone who loves you." The officer opened the car door and leaned in. "Sir, we're moving you both to a secure location. We've got backup sweeping the area, but we don't want to take any chances." Denzel nodded. "Good call." The officer's radio squawked again. "Suspect sighted heading eastbound. Foot pursuit in progress. Requesting additional units." The officer's jaw tightened. "They're not going to get far," he muttered before shutting the door again. The engine roared to life. The squad car pulled away from the curb, its tires squealing slightly as the driver accelerated. But they didn't make it 2 blocks before the ambush. A black SUV shot out of a side street, slamming into the police cruiser's rear quarter panel. The impact threw Denzel forward against the seatbelt. Liam screamed as the squad car spun wildly, tires shrieking against asphalt. The driver fought to regain control, but the SUV rammed them again, sending the car careening into a parked delivery van. The windows shattered in a spray of glass. "Out! Get out!" the officer barked as he kicked open his door, drawing his weapon. Denzel grabbed Liam and yanked him across the seat, just as the SUV's doors flew open. The man in the hoodie emerged first, his face twisted with fury. The woman in the red jacket was right behind him, a pistol clutched in her hand. "Get the boy!" the man shouted. The officer fired, the shot pinging off the SUV's hood. "Run!" Denzel shouted to Liam. He shoved the door open and pulled the boy out, shielding him with his body as they scrambled for cover behind the delivery van. The SUV's engine roared again. Denzel heard it revving up, preparing to lunge forward like a predator. "Sir, take the boy and go," the officer yelled, laying down covering fire. Denzel didn't hesitate. He scooped Liam into his arms and bolted down a narrow alleyway. Gunfire cracked behind them. Liam clung to Denzel's neck, his tiny body shaking. "They're gonna catch us," he sobbed. "No," Denzel said through gritted teeth. "Not today." They reached the end of the alley, only to find their path blocked by a chain-link fence. Denzel scanned for another route, but the sound of footsteps pounding on pavement grew louder. "Over here," a voice barked. The man in the hoodie rounded the corner, his eyes locking on Liam like a hawk spotting prey. "Nowhere left to run," he growled. Denzel set Liam down gently and pushed him behind a stack of crates. "Stay down. Don't make a sound." He turned to face the man, his own hands curling into fists. "You're not taking him." The man laughed, low and cruel. "You think you can stop me? You're just an actor. This isn't a movie, old man." "Maybe not," Denzel said, stepping forward. "But I've done my homework." The man lunged, swinging a heavy punch. Denzel sidestepped, catching the man's arm and twisting it hard. The man grunted in pain but wrenched free, countering with a vicious elbow aimed at Denzel's ribs. The blow knocked the wind out of him, but Denzel stayed on his feet. He grabbed a metal pipe from the ground and swung it, connecting with the man's shoulder. The man staggered back, snarling. "You just signed your death warrant." Before he could rush again, police sirens blared in the distance. The man's eyes darted toward the sound. "Damn it," he spat. He turned and fled, disappearing into the shadows of another alleyway. Denzel let out a shaky breath and dropped the pipe. "Liam," he called softly. The boy peeked out from behind the crates, his face streaked with tears. "You're okay now," Denzel said. "They're gone." But deep down he knew this wasn't over. Not yet. The police car that pulled up minutes later was different from the others. It didn't blare sirens or flash red and blue lights. It crept into the alley silently, headlights off until it was just a few feet away. Two plainclothes detectives stepped out quickly, hands poised near their holsters but with a sharp, deliberate calm that told Denzel these weren't ordinary beat cops. "Mr. Washington?" the older one said as he approached. His voice was low but commanding.
I'm Detective Harris.
"This is my partner, Detective Alvarez. We're taking over from here." Denzel nodded, his chest heaving from the adrenaline still coursing through him. "Are you with the Amber Alert Task Force?" he asked. Harris gave a tight nod. "Yes, we've been on this case since the first day Liam was reported missing." Denzel glanced down at Liam, who was clutching his hand tightly, his small knuckles pale. "You're safe now," Denzel murmured to him again. "These are good people. They're going to help us." But Liam didn't move. His wide, terrified eyes stayed fixed on the alley where the man in the hoodie had disappeared. "Sir," Alvarez said gently, crouching so he was level with the boy, "we need to take you both somewhere secure. Those people aren't going to give up easily. They've been evading us for weeks." "They tried to ram the squad car," Denzel said. His voice was sharper than he intended, edged with anger. "They're organized. They had an exit plan ready. This wasn't random." "We know," Harris said grimly. "That's why we need to move now." The detectives led them to the unmarked car. Denzel lifted Liam carefully into the back seat, sliding in beside him. As they pulled away, he looked back over his shoulder at the darkened alley, half expecting to see a pair of eyes glowing in the shadows. But the alley was empty. For now, the drive to the precinct was quiet. Liam had curled against Denzel's side, exhaustion finally overtaking his fear. His small body trembled occasionally, and every time it did, Denzel placed a steady hand on his back. "It's over, buddy," he whispered. "You're going to be okay." But even as he spoke, a question gnawed at him. What kind of people would hunt down a child so relentlessly? At the precinct, they were ushered into a small, dimly lit room with 2 chairs and a table. A female officer brought in a blanket and draped it over Liam's shoulders. "Would you like some water, honey?" she asked softly. Liam nodded mutely. As the officer left, Harris entered, carrying a file thick with documents. He set it down on the table and looked at Denzel. "I don't have to tell you this is a delicate situation," Harris said. "What you did today likely saved this boy's life." "I just happened to be there," Denzel said quietly. "Anyone would have done the same." "You'd be surprised," Alvarez said as he leaned against the wall. "Most people don't get involved. They see something off and assume it's not their business." Denzel didn't reply. His eyes were on Liam, who was staring blankly at the tabletop. Harris sat down opposite them and opened the file. A photo of Liam, smiling and holding a stuffed dinosaur, stared back at them from the top page. "This is Liam Matthews," Harris said, though Denzel already knew. His mother, Julia Matthews, was reported missing 2 weeks ago. She was found dead 3 days later in her home. Denzel's stomach turned. "Cause of death?" he asked. "Blunt force trauma," Harris said. "We believe she discovered something she wasn't supposed to." Denzel's throat went dry. "Something like what?" Harris exchanged a glance with Alvarez. "Human trafficking," Harris said finally. "We've been tracking this network for months. We believe Julia found out her boyfriend was involved. When she threatened to go to the police, they killed her and took Liam as leverage." "Leverage for what?" Denzel asked sharply. "To keep her family quiet," Alvarez said, "and to sell the boy later if necessary." Denzel felt his hands clench into fists. "They're monsters." "Yes," Harris agreed. "And they're connected."
Sierra Kane.
"The woman you encountered has been linked to several similar abductions. Tyrell Voss, the man in the hoodie, is her enforcer. They work for someone higher up, someone we've been trying to identify." Denzel shook his head slowly. "They didn't seem like they were following orders. They seemed personal about this." "They are," Harris said. "They don't like losing their merchandise." The word made Denzel's stomach lurch. He glanced at Liam, who was staring at the file, his small hands gripping the blanket tightly. "You're safe now, Liam," Harris said gently. "We're going to keep you safe." But Liam didn't look convinced. "They always find me," he whispered. Denzel put a hand on his shoulder. "Not this time," he said. "We're going to stop them." Alvarez stepped forward. "We've already set up a safe house for tonight. It's under police protection. Tomorrow we'll transfer Liam to his aunt's custody. She's been waiting for weeks to see him." "Aunt?" Denzel asked. "Julia's sister," Harris said. "She's been cleared for temporary custody." Liam's lip trembled. "Aunt Carrie?" he asked in a small voice. "Yes, sweetheart," Harris said gently. "She's been very worried about you." For the first time since they'd met, a flicker of hope crossed Liam's face. "Can I see her now?" "Soon," Harris said. "We just need to make sure it's safe." A sudden crash echoed down the hallway outside, followed by shouts. Denzel shot to his feet, placing himself between the door and Liam. "What was that?" he demanded. Harris's hand was already on his gun. Alvarez pressed a finger to his earpiece, his face paling. "They're here," he muttered. "How the hell did they find us?" The door burst open before anyone could respond. Sierra Kane stepped through, her red jacket spattered with rain, her pistol raised. "I told you," she said coldly. "This isn't over." The air in the room went still, heavy with the suffocating weight of terror. Sierra's eyes burned like embers as she leveled the pistol at Harris. Her finger flexed on the trigger, the faint sound of leather creaking in her glove echoing in the small space. "I warned you," she said, her voice low and venomous. "You think you can just take him from us?" Denzel stepped forward, placing himself squarely between Sierra and Liam. His pulse hammered in his ears, but his voice came out steady, hard. "You don't have to do this," he said. "Walk away now, and you might still have a chance." Sierra let out a cold, mirthless laugh. "A chance? You think I want your pity? That boy belongs to us. He's worth more than all of you combined." Harris shifted subtly, his hand inching toward his gun. "Don't," Sierra barked. "I'll put one in your head before you even clear your holster." Alvarez kept his eyes on her, his hand tightening on the edge of the table. "You've already lost," he said. "The second you stepped in here, you signed your death warrant." "You think so?"
Cierra es nered.
"You don't know who we're working for. Killing you won't even be a ripple." As she spoke, the sound of shouting and gunfire echoed faintly from down the corridor. Denzel realized with a jolt that Tyrell must have breached another part of the building. Sierra noticed his glance. "That's right. He's here too. No one's coming to save you." Denzel's mind raced. He needed to buy time, to keep her attention off Harris and Alvarez long enough for someone to take her down. "Why him?" Denzel asked suddenly. "Why this boy? There are hundreds of others out there, but you keep coming for him." Sierra's jaw tightened. For a split second, a flicker of something passed across her face. Hesitation, anger, maybe even fear. "He's special," she said finally. "That's all you need to know." Denzel caught the look in Harris's eyes, the briefest flicker of acknowledgement. Harris had noticed it too. "You're not taking him," Denzel said. Sierra's face hardened. "Then you die first." But before she could pull the trigger, a deafening crack split the air. Sierra jerked backward, her gun clattering to the floor as a dark red stain bloomed on her shoulder. She let out a strangled cry and stumbled against the wall. Behind her, a uniformed officer lowered his weapon. "Drop it," he barked. But Sierra wasn't done. She lunged for the fallen pistol, her fingers brushing the grip. Denzel moved without thinking. He kicked the gun across the floor, sending it skittering under a cabinet. Sierra let out a howl of rage and lunged at him instead, nails clawing at his face. They slammed into the table. Denzel grunted as her elbow caught him in the ribs. "Liam, run!" he shouted. The boy hesitated for a moment, frozen with terror. Then Alvarez grabbed him and pulled him toward the door. Sierra saw it and screamed.
No.
"He's mine." She raked her nails across Denzel's cheek, drawing blood, but he didn't let go. He pinned her arms to her sides and wrestled her to the ground. "Not anymore," he growled. Harris and the officer rushed forward, finally managing to drag Sierra off him and slam her face first into the floor. "You're under arrest," Harris barked as he snapped cuffs around her wrists. "Move and you're done." Sierra thrashed and spat, her words like acid. "You think this is over? You think locking me up will stop them? There are more coming. He's theirs, and they'll burn this whole city to get him back." Harris slammed her against the wall. "We'll take our chances." Denzel staggered to his feet, his ribs aching. He wiped the blood from his cheek and turned to Alvarez. "Where's Liam?" "Safe," Alvarez said. "We got him to the basement. It's secure." But Denzel's gut twisted. Sierra's words weren't a bluff. "They won't stop," Denzel said quietly. "We need to get him out of here. Tonight." Harris nodded grimly. "You're right. We'll move him to the safe house now." As Sierra was dragged from the room, she craned her neck to glare at Denzel. "You can't protect him forever," she hissed. "They'll come for you too." Denzel didn't flinch. "Let them try." 2 hours later, under the cover of darkness, a black SUV with tinted windows pulled out of the police garage. Denzel sat in the back seat with Liam curled against him, wrapped in a blanket. The boy's eyelids fluttered, exhaustion finally overcoming the adrenaline. "Am I really safe now?" he asked in a small, broken voice. Denzel looked down at him, his heart heavy. "Yes," he said softly. "You're safe." But in his mind, Sierra's voice echoed like a curse. They'll burn this whole city to get him back. And deep down, Denzel knew the fight wasn't over.